Today I'm going to be explaining or giving you tips on how to find a good pet sitter. So I go out of town frequently, I guess, a few times a year for sure, probably a little bit more than that. And I leave my pets at home with a pet sitter. Now, some people board their pets and that's perfectly fine, but the purpose of this video is just to give you some things to consider and to think about and ways to find a good pet sitter. I absolutely love my pet sitter. She is wonderful and I wouldn't know what to do without her. So I do have a very, very good pet sitter, and I'm just gonna give you some tips on how you can find one too. So the most important thing I think in finding a great pet sitter is definitely word of mouth. Ask around. Use social media, use Facebook, ask on there. Does anyone use a pet sitter that you can recommend? Ask your vet. Call around to neighboring vets and ask, the different vets in the area if they know of anyone that pet sits. Also, don't limit yourself just to general veterinarians, but also call your specialty vets in your area. Your ER vets and your specialty hospitals that may have like ophthalmologists or, things like that. So kind of broaden your search when you're looking for some word of mouth referrals for a good pet sitter. A lot of times, the vet techs that work there pet sit because they love animals, obviously, if they are in that field. And so just because your particular vet doesn't have a vet tech that pet sits or knows of someone that does pet sit, that doesn't mean that the vet down the street or in the next city or the specialty vet won't be a source for you to find a good pet sitter. So definitely word of mouth and definitely look for those referrals. Once you get a few names, the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to basically interview the pet sitter. You're going to want to have them come over and see how they react with your pets. See if they're comfortable. See how they interact with them so that you kind of can get a good feeling of, are they comfortable around pets? Do they seem like a pet lover, or do they just seem like they're just doing this for some extra money? And I think that your instincts will kick in when you see them interacting with your babies, and that will give you a good foundation of whether or not it is someone that you would like to use. I found my particular pet sitter at my hair salon. So, just because she wasn't found in my veterinarian's office, keep your eyes and ears open for just about anywhere. Of course, I talk about my pets wherever I go, and she was the receptionist there at the time. This was years ago, and she, I found out that she pet sitted, and then we talked, and she came over, and she did all these things that I am going to explain to you, and she has been my pet sitter ever since, and I love her. She's wonderful. So you never know where you're going to get that, find your pet sitter from. So interview is important, have them come over, like I said, and interact with your babies. Also, and I want to mention too, my pet sitter, even though she was working at the hair salon at the time, she is just finishing up with vet tech school. So now she is a vet tech, and she's going to work in a specialty hospital, I believe. And so she just loves animals, and I'm so happy to have found her. So let's go back. Another thing that you want to look at is their lifestyle. So if you are interviewing a pet sitter or potential pet sitter, you want to ask them, questions, kind of personal questions about, hey, just in normal conversation, of course, but, are you single? Do you have children? Do you like to, tell me about your lifestyle? That's going to be very, very important. If you hire someone as your pet sitter and they are a party hardy kind of person that likes to go, go, go all the time, chances are they're not going to work out for you as a good pet sitter because They may not be at your house as much as what you would like them to be, and their lifestyle may get, in the way of that. Also, if they are, say for instance, a busy mom with, 3 kids, and those kids always have, they're in dancing, they're in cheerleading, they're in baseball and different things like that, that sort of lifestyle might get in the way of, being the correct pet sitter for you. So make sure you look at their lifestyle and to see if that is going to be the perfect fit for you. Now, my pet sitter stays at my house with them, so I love that because she does go to work, but what was that? My goodness, what was that? She does go to work, but she basically will just move in my house and stay at the house. She sleeps, the dogs sleep in the bed with her, and it's just like we have never left when she comes in. So I love that. Some people may not feel comfortable with that and only want them to come by for scheduled visits, which that is fine as well. It just depends on your particular situation and your comfort level with your pet sitter. Now, when they do scheduled visits, you would need to tell them or ask them how many times a day they plan on coming to have their visits. Make sure that is well known up front. So if you know that they are going to come once a day and you're okay with that, that's fine. But if you want them to come 2 or 3 times a day, then that needs to be talked about beforehand. That way you guys are on the same page as to how many times a day your pet sitter is going to come and do scheduled visits at your home. Also, ask them how many minutes they will stay when you have their visit or when she comes to visit. Like I said, this doesn't really apply to my situation because my pet sitter stays at my house, the whole time. But in situations where there are just scheduled visits, you want to make sure that your pet sitter is going to spend ample amount of time with your pet. You don't want them just running in, throwing some food in the bowl and leaving. You want them to spend probably at least 45 minutes if they're going to come for just once a day. I would think maybe a little bit longer than that. If they're just going to come once a day. If they're coming 2 and 3 times a day, well then they're not going to spend an hour each time they come. So the visits will be shorter. They will just tend to be a little more frequent. So that is important that you kind of, hash that out with her or him and decide which, schedule is best for your pets and, decide on that in that way. Also, if you know that your dog needs to be walked or let outside 3 times a day, it might be a problem if you only get someone to come once a day. So it's important to look at your dog's schedule to kind of match up a pet sitter schedule as well. So we talked about word of mouth referrals. So when you do pick out, and I know I'm kind of jumping around, sorry, I hope you guys have a notebook. Get a notebook out because I may jump all over the place in this video. But you want to also check your pet sitter out. This is someone that is going to be responsible for your home and for your pet. So don't feel bad if you're asking a lot of questions or if you're going to check them out by getting referrals from their clients. You want to get names of people that have used them. That way you can ask them some specific questions as well. Now, keep in mind that if you're asking anyone, no matter who it is, for a referral and they give you a name, of course that name can be skewed. So that's where your social media comes in and your own investigative instincts and skills come into play, because you're going to want to try and find people who use this particular person on your own that is a non-biased person, not necessarily someone that your pet sitter is giving you the name of, because they won't give you a name of somebody they have a bad relationship with, obviously. So use your intuitive skills and your investigative skills, I know you have it in you, to find out as much as you can about your pet sitter. Now, so that's basically how I would go about finding a pet sitter. We talked about having them come over, seeing how they interact. And then talked about the scheduling and how, you know, you need to figure out what schedule is best for you. And then I guess the next thing is how you would prepare your pets to be left with your pet sitter. The first thing I can say is just be very, very well prepared. There are so many things that you can do to help your pet sitter out in advance. So my suggestion is that you make some sort of log, whether it's in a notebook or on Word, where you can make some documents that you can print out everything, and put everything that you would like your pet sitter to know, everything that they need to know, all in a concise area, so that they would have access to everything that they need to know to take care of your pets. One of the most important things that you need to have on there is definitely your veterinarian's name and phone number. And you also want to write out something that states that your pet sitter has the authority to care for your pet in your absence. So leave a little letter like that with your pet sitter, just in case, God forbid, if they would need to take your pets to the vet, that they have authorization to treat your pets. So that's very important. Also, make sure on there that you put an emergency vet that you would prefer your pets to be brought to in case something would happen after hours. I know in my area, the emergency vet that is closest to my home is not the emergency vet that I would ever take my pets to. So my pet sitter knows which emergency vet that she would need to go to in case of an emergency during her care. You want to put the feeding schedule down on paper. You want to tell them explicitly, what you do, how you feed them in the mornings or in the evenings, or anything else that they would need to know. You would want to put that on, in your notebook or on your Word document, or wherever it is that you are going to put all of your information. Anything having to do with pottying, whether they go outside, how many times they go outside, if they just go inside only. If they're using washable potty pads, what you wash your pads with. Just anything that is the normal thing that you do, just write it all out. I can't stress this enough, that they can't have too much information, but if they're left with not enough information, then something might get done that you don't really want to have happen, and it just saves a lot of problems and a lot of confusion in the future if you have everything very, very well prepared. Make sure that you list any specific allergies that your pet may have. If they have any allergies at all, this is something that your pet sitter is definitely going to want to know. Also, if your pet has any specific quirky things or fears, if they are very afraid of thunderstorms, they need to know this. And in a case of a thunderstorm, what do you do to help your pet through it? All of that information needs to be where you can, leave for your pet sitter. Now, one of the good things that I'm actually going to be doing, I have everything on a Word document right now that I send to my pet sitter, but I'm really considering getting a notebook probably from ErinCondren.com, because I love all of her stuff, and just making this my pet sitter notebook. And I'm going to put everything in this notebook, and then if I have any changes, I can easily make it to the notebook, or changes to the notebook, and that way that notebook will stay at the house and be readily accessible for the pet sitter, so that she doesn't have to worry about, oh, where's my notes, I don't have my Word document and things like that. So definitely I will be ordering a notebook from Erin Condren, and I'm going to get a personalized cover that says pet sitter notes or something like that. And if you would like a video on that, once I get that all set up, I would be happy to show you exactly how I'm going to set up my notebook for the pet sitter. So I'm gonna get that done pretty soon, because I'm like, oh, that's a good idea, I need to do that. It just kind of came to me, I guess, with this video. So you see, I helped my own self out. Okay, let's see what else. I made some other notes here. Okay, so another thing that you're going to want to ask your pet sitter is just some general questions on what they would do in certain situations. So for example, if my pet was choking, what would you do? If my pet, had vomiting or diarrhea, what would you do? This gives you some ideas on how comfortable they are in situations where they may, come up, or in situations that may arise while you're gone. And you can kind of get an idea if they're comfortable in these situations and how they would handle it. If my pet was lethargic, like if they were just lying around, what would you do? So those kind of questions are very, very important to ask. Also, in looking in a pet sitter, I wouldn't really get someone who is very young. I wouldn't get someone who is like a high school student, unless they were a very, very, very mature high school student with lots of references and lots of experience with their own animals, and you could really, really trust them. Personally, I have a high schooler, and he is wonderful. He's wonderful with Harper, and he's great, but I don't think he could handle, the responsibilities that it takes to be responsible for, especially my crew, because we have, a lot of pets. So I know that he wouldn't be able to be responsible enough to handle everything that would come, or that could come available, or could happen during a pet sit. So that's something that you have to kind of weigh and judge on your own, as far as, something like that. Also, if someone works all the time, if they are a busy, busy, busy person and they work 12 and 16-hour shifts, that's not going to be the best person to do your pet sitting as well, because when are they going to do your pet visits, or when are they going to be at your house to have time enough to spend with your pet and to do all of the duties that you would want to have done while you are gone. Now, one thing that I would recommend to everyone, and this is not just in a pet sitter situation, but it comes in handy for this, but I recommend, everyone, if you can afford it, getting one of those home cameras. The ones that I have are made by Nest. I will leave the link to that in the description box below. I absolutely love my cameras. I have my cameras set up on each one of their playpens. So I have one on Stassi's playpen and one set up on Harper's playpen. And it just shows the playpen, although you can make it wider so that it'll show like the whole room. But I find that's a little like Big Brother-ish, and I just don't have mine set up like that to begin with. So mine are just basically on their playpen area. And my pet sitter knows about them. So she knows that I can see, I can hear, I can even talk to my pets remotely through that. Although I don't usually do that because I don't want them to get upset. But if you find that just hearing your voice will calm your pet down, then that could be a feature of those cameras that would be helpful to you in your situation. But it's really, really a good peace of mind when you are this attached to your pets, to be able to look in on them and see, okay, well, they're out playing right now, or they're just sleeping in their pen, or whatever. It just gives us a lot of peace of mind just by looking in on those cameras to see and to make sure that they're okay. And they're fine, but it just helps to get rid of that anxiety, for us to be able to look in on that. So I highly recommend the Nest cameras for anyone if you could possibly do it. I want to say they're like $1.99 a piece, and I think sometimes they'll run even a coupon special on them. So it's well worth the money, in my opinion, and they work very well. You do need Wi-Fi in order to access them, but it's a good device to have. I absolutely love our cameras. And then one other thing about pet sitters that are great, as opposed to just boarding, where there's a lot of things that pet sitting is good for, but the one that I'm getting ready to talk about though is house care. Or house sitting. Not only are they pet sitting for you, but they also are house sitting for you. So they are there to pick up the mail, pick up any packages that come in, take the trash out on trash days. So I love the fact that someone is at my house and can keep an eye on my house as well as my pets, you know, while she is there, you know, doing her pet sitting job. So that's a very important plus to having a pet sitter. And then I think the most important plus in having a pet sitter as opposed to boarding your pets is that they get to stay in their own home. They get to stay in their own home environment. And it's just much, much less stressful on your pets to have someone care for them in your home where they're comfortable, rather than have them sitting in a cage or a run, you know, that in a boarding facility or a vet's office where they have to be boarded. Now, if you need to do that, then you need to do what you need to do. If you can't find a good pet sitter, it's better to have them at I would choose a veterinarian's office that does boarding, so that at least they have a vet on staff. And if that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. But it's really, really good if you can find a good pet sitter, because they will be very comfortable in your home. And then another great thing about having a pet sitter is that the grooming that needs to be done can be done, to make sure that you leave instructions on what type of grooming you want done. But in my notebook, in my pet sitter notebook, it's going to have all of our routines on, you know, grooming and everything like that. I have all of that written out now, but it's on like postcards at my grooming table and postcards here and there. So all of that is going to be going into my pet sitter notebook. And like I said, if you guys would like to see that, just let me know and I will do a video on, you know, that specific system that I'm going to use for my pet sitter. So that is it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this gave you some good tips. I hope you find a great pet sitter if that's what you choose to do. And we will catch you on the next video, right, Stassi? Right. All right, we hope you are enjoying your day wherever you are, and we will catch you soon. Bye guys. Have a great day.